the season that we're in, the heat and the beautiful weather, God, and the rain we've experienced in the past few days. Lord, we thank you so much for that. And God, I ask, just always, just thank you for the people that protect our city. And as they're here tonight, God, I thank you, Lord, just for them and their families. And God, I ask you, Lord, just for the workers of the city, they make it go on a day-to-day basis. And Lord, as always, we appreciate those men and women too. God, I ask you, Lord, be with the meeting tonight as things are discussed. Let it be for the benefit of the city and the people that live within it. And your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm going to put the agenda up, let you guys take a look at it. It's our pretty standard agenda, but there's a few specific items on there for tonight. And in the meantime, while you're looking at it, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lilly.
Here.
Mizell.
Here.
Rustin.
Here.
King.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
Here. And so we have everybody present, so we have a quorum. And I'm going to give you a couple more minutes to look at the agenda. I'll give you a few more seconds to look at the agenda. So. We can get through it pretty quick. All right, and as usual, the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting for 6/20/23. The council have all had an opportunity they've received a copy, had an opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, if not, let the record show that the minutes were approved by unanimous consent. And so we will now move on into our meeting, and we've got our department reports, and the fire department, the chief's here.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, everything in the department seems to be going pretty good. As far as staffing, we're still where we were. We're not necessarily in the red, but we're still kicking along. We're working on the grant that we had. We've actually got several prospects for the recruit and retention plan, so we're working on that. Got a couple of good prospects. Equipment-wise, everything seems to be good. We're, I say good, same place we were. Nothing's really changed there. We're trying to do our yearly pre-maintenance at the end of this year, fiscal year, so we'll have that finished up by end of September. Pretty much that's it. Working on a grant from Forestry. Forestry sent out a new additional grant for that. I think it's going to be around $10,000, so we've applied for that. And pretty much that's all we've got going on.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? It was the AFD grant, right? Which one was the one where we were for the fire truck?
The fire truck, the AFG grant for the pumper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything.
Hadn't heard anything.
I hadn't heard anything.
Any other questions?
Can you remind us again what your newest piece of equipment, the year that it is? How?
Currently, our newest piece is a 2009.
And help me, again, correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably am, but as I recall, in ISO has changed their rules a bit, but as a general rule, there was, they generally didn't want your oldest piece of equipment to be more than 10 years old. Right?
That's correct. Yes.
Your new, not your oldest, but
The first run truck out needs to be less than 10
10
years.
years old. So
And in the past, we always ended up buying trucks on the year that ended in 9. So for instance, we got 69, 79, 89, 99, 09. So in 09, we didn't replenish one in 2019. So technically, we're 4 years behind schedule.
okay. Any other questions for the chief?
Is that the one we bought from Decatur?
No, the one we bought from Decatur was a 04 model, and that was in Hanley's administration. We bought it, it was 5 years old when we purchased it, and it was kind of a patch to get us to the next 5 years till we could do something better. So it's currently, it is an 04 model.
That's the black and red one, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Library.
Everything is going good at the library. Our budget is good, staffing is moving along. We had, our traffic is picking up just a little bit, so we're excited about that. We had an estimate of 1,182 visitors for the month of June. Our highlights and opportunities, for the month of May, we provided $44,026.45 worth of services. These are calculated, books checked out, computers, that kind of thing. This is down from May of 2022. June, we provided $52,971.35 worth of services. This is also down from June 2022. Summer reading will end this Friday with face painting and tie-dyeing. We are excited. We got our tie-dye equipment in yesterday, so we hope that the kids can bring their items to be tie-dyed and have a lot of good fun. We did have a huge jump in our young adult section. Before May, we were getting maybe 12 items in our young adult section checked out. That was a huge jump in May. Well, April was 12. May, we had like 24 items checked out. In June, we actually hit 80s. So we're really excited to get those young folks in there reading new material and stuff like that. Other than that, that's where we are. We've had a good month this month. So.
How did the program with the police officers reading, is that in the library?
It is. Our first program was last Wednesday. They'll come again tomorrow. We had a good crowd. Yeah, we did pretty good for the first day.
They're offering cookies, I imagine adults might offer them.
Oh yeah, we had fun with Sergeant Cookie coming in and reading a book, and we had fun.
Any other questions for Jen? All right, thanks. Environmental Services.
I don't have a whole lot on mine tonight. Nothing's really changed. Chris and Robert start their online prep courses July the 17th for their grade 2 wastewater exam. One thing I didn't put on there is the Goodwin Street project. So they've been working on that Monday and Tuesday. They hope to finish that up this week.
This is repairing
The sewer lines. So they're actually slip lining the old clay pipes, turning that into plastic pipes. So
but where they dug it up before, they've got.
that was
pretty bad
point repairs, where they had to do point repairs and replace some older manholes in the street. So as soon as we get finished slip lining, then the contractor come back in and we'll get some pricing on the patches.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I just
That's
want that, we've had so many issues with patches and
Right.
other paving projects. I would like to get that done as quickly as possible.
Right. So they should be finished with that this week. The guy's coming back in next week to do cleanup on Highway 70, around sign graphics, around the county facilities, McDowell Road. So hopefully we'll get all these projects out of the way. And then we had our tour, the mayor come out with Auburn University, so he sent everybody the link on that. That went real well.
Yeah, congratulations to you and your guys for, it appears that, and we had people from all over the state as well as Mississippi who participated in that program, and they all had great things to say about Dale and the guys there doing it. It's a project that Auburn was conducting at the 4-H Center, but they actually kind of got the hands-on tour at our sewage treatment facility and had nothing but great to say, so good job. Any other questions for Dale? Okay. Community Affairs and Senior Services.
All right, so I'm gonna start at the bottom and work myself up. With the Grand Hall, Shelby County Court System is no longer gonna use the Grand Hall for jury duty. They have decided to go back, to the courthouse. I think that it was easier for them to transition straight into some trials if they did it that way. So that will, they will start doing that this month. Senior Services, we served about 1,150 meals in June, and we started some dancing classes on Monday afternoon, so that's really fun, some ballroom dancing classes. So that is different. If you know anybody who wants to take some ballroom dancing, let us know. And then the Farmers Market and Music on Main, they have gone very, very well. Main Street is here to talk more about that tonight, but Music on Main Unplugged will continue for the rest of the summer through August 11th. So, and then Liberty Day was a big success. It was a lot of fun. The weather was perfect, and it turned out to be a good day. Most of you know that this is not on our chart because I didn't put it right. But most of you know that we hosted Black Bear Pictures in Columbiana June 26th, 27th, and 28th. That is a film featuring the famous Mr. Matthew McConaughey. It was a wonderful opportunity for Columbiana. We chased that for a lot of months, and we were really happy when Black Bear chose Elvin Hill and the Columbiana girls softball field to do their filming. So that is a win for Columbiana, and we're excited for that movie to come. And excited that we can say something about it now.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Any questions for Ally?
I'm glad y'all are continuing the Music on Main. Because I have a lot of people asking me that on Liberty Day, and I told them no, and then, some of that.
Ally, I don't know if this time, but have we had any feedback on the entertainment district, positive or negative?
We've had a lot of positive feedback from our merchants. If you haven't been downtown in the evenings lately, come downtown in the evenings. It is busy. Merchants are doing very, very well. Very well. Those with an ABC license, and also the ones who are just staying open and kind of catching people who are downtown shopping. So I'm interested to see what the numbers will look like, because I think we're gonna see a boost in revenue.
When you say numbers, you mean revenue?
Revenue.
Yeah.
Will the farmer's market continue?
It will. It'll continue through August 11th.
Any other questions for Ally? Okay. We'll move on, and in addition to the Recreation Board, you guys met, right?
Yeah, we did.
Well, let me go on that. Didn't put them on the chart, but we will have a report from the Library Board and Beautification Board as well, but we'll let you start.
Yeah, and actually chime in if you need. So we met last night, talked about a lot of things. Couple things we talked about. We were able to identify some turf for our batting cages. So we got 6 rolls of turf, used turf that's coming in. So we're going to install that. That's been delivered, I think this week. Talked about some budget items that we're going to send to the council for just consideration Park and Rec this year. So I'll get those over to you pretty soon. The other thing that we talked about a couple council meetings ago, we had that grant we have got with the county that was overlapping from this year. We confirmed those figures, and in the meantime, we went back to those contractors that send those estimates, and they confirmed that those estimates that they provided were either shy of a few dollars, a few $100s or whatever. So we've confirmed all that. I've notified Charlene of that, so I want to make sure to confirm with Al tomorrow that we can give those contractors a go ahead and do that. Because one of the big contractors a month out, so we need to go ahead and get on his schedule. That way he can go ahead and get it done when a job permits. Other than that, we have got football, baseball, softball, and now flag football going on this fall. So it'll be a busy time. August the 19th is Shelby County's Red and White Day at the high school field. That'll be a fundraiser that the football field, the football team uses every year. Youth teams will play, and Shelby County will play Beauregard, I think, that night. So Ashley, you got anything to add?
It may be the 18th.
Yes,
I don't know
Is it
if
Friday?
that's-
Yes, Friday night.
Same.
Friday night? Okay, so 18, okay. And the other thing I mentioned last night that Ashley and I talked about, we have got like a grant inquiry that the mayor may want to mention too, that's from Blue Cross Blue Shield. So it was a general inquiry about an outdoor fitness center. So we're gonna do some due diligence on that to see what it's about. I know, talking with Ashley and Bobby last night, the Elvin Hill got something similar to that. So we wanna reach out to them and see what that's consist of and see if we can either leverage off that or just see what's going on there. So other than that, that's all I got. Ashley, anything else?
No, we covered.
Refresh my memory, what's left as far as the work that we need to turn to contractors on? What are the projects that we're gonna need?
Just the two dugouts at Bolton. The roof's gotta be taken off, the front wall's gotta be taken off of both of them. And then after that, the contractors are free to go. So there'll be some concrete work involved, 2 roofs to be built, and then a chain link wall to put in front of both of them. So it's really not a big project, we just need to get it going. So I wanna make sure that Al's on board with that and knows about it, because he'll have to coordinate it before we go, so.
Any other questions for Ricky? Thank you, sir. Jennifer, why don't you go next?
So library board met June 27th. It was kind of a general meeting. We did close out some things that were left open, discussing the LSDA grant that we got for 2023. Just sharing the status of that. All those books have been purchased, and actually quite circulating quite well. That's part of that young adult section that I had mentioned earlier. We talked about, we still are in need of a board member, so we are still discussing that. We've, basically it was just kind of closing up some old business. So we kind of got a lot of those cleared out. But that was it.
Okay. You answered my question. I was sitting here thinking, well, I was wondering if it had something to do with the fact that you guys bought those new books.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
And our Spanish section also was part of that LSDA grant. That is circulating very well too.
That's good.
So we're excited.
Any questions for Dan? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, beautification board.
Yes, we had a booth set up on Liberty Day, and it went really, really well. We had a lot of volunteers. I think we had like 12 volunteers sign up just to help us, just have to have extra hands. But we also found another person that was interested in being on the board. So I would like to, if I can make a nomination, that we nominate Leanne Flegel. They're the ones that bought.
Yeah.
Okay,
Do
She
you have a
came-
vacancy, or
Oh, yeah.
you want to add a
we've been
position?
trying to fill it for
Okay.
2 months now.
All right.
So, but she came by and she was interested in being on it, and so I need to make a, see if everybody's agreeable to her being on the board. Also, I would like to thank Al and the guys for recutting the bushes again at the cemetery and for digging up that one big, huge mimosa, whatever it was. Anyway, and also in our meeting on February the 21st, our council meeting, we discussed cutting those shrubbery, and at the same time, we were asked to cut the shrubbery at the front, and everybody was okay with that. So if we can get the shrubbery at the sign, leave the 2 tall trees on each end,
The sign out in front of City Hall.
and cut the shrubbery in front, so that you can at least read City
Read the
Hall.
sign, yeah.
And then eventually, maybe we can get those hazardous ones there that night.
So
can
we
get those
cut it
down.
back, I don't know, 6 months ago, maybe longer, And we didn't cut it back as far as I would have liked, because obviously it grew back very quickly, and you still couldn't see the entire sign even when we cut it back. So, we may just need to replace those bushes.
Yes, that's what we would like to do. We would like to have them pulled up, and then maybe we can do some kind of flowers like we did in Tang-On, just to keep it colorful. And,
I have no issue.
And then we replaced these flowers here in the pots. We haven't planted them yet, but they're there, and they should be easy to take care of, so. And then when we're doing our watering at night, we can come by here and hit them at the nighttime, so,
Well, I told Lisa that the water hose is sitting right out there, so.
yeah.
If
But, I
somebody
mean, we
will
don't
remind
mind.
me, I'll water.
We don't mind, doing it when we get on a cart or whatever, but yes, the only other thing is, if everybody's agreeable to the new board member, we would like to propose.
Well, you've put forth the nomination, so, and that's a nomination from the beautification board. Is there a second?
So,
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So unanimous. So we've got the beautification board filled out. Now we just need to tag somebody for the library board. We need to see.
Well, they took us 2 months.
All right.
Everybody's scared.
Okay, any other questions for the beautification board? Okay, Wes? Main Street, okay, we'll let you guys talk. I can go backwards.
I will try to be brief. We've been talking about for a while coming to see you guys. Mainly say thank you for your support of it. Things are going well. Jotted down just a few things. As Ally mentioned, the farmer's market has, by every estimation, been wildly successful. And a little unsure, there was a little trepidation from some of the vendors from last summer's market about a Friday night market. And it has, in fact, we've continually had more and more people trying to get into it because it's going so well. So that, coupled with Music on Main, has been a really good thing. Vendors are super happy. Merchants that are staying open have been really happy about it, and I agree with Ally. I know we won't know anything until the revenue reports come in, but I think it's going to be really positive, and I think the farmer's market is a part of that. We are excited. We decided back as we were in the early stages of planning that we were going to spend some money to try to do a more low-key musical performance through the remainder of the summer so that it has that community vibe. One of the goals is to let people get fresh vegetables and fruits and other products. But one of them, too, is to give people a reason to stand around and talk to their neighbors and build community. So we've got small acts booked through the rest of through August 11th anyway, and then football starts, and that'll be everybody's Friday night. The Liberty Day 5K happened again this year as part of the race. Last year we had 139 total. This year we had 167. So that's a 20% increase, and it's not a tremendous money maker or anything, but I do think it adds something to the fabric of Liberty Day. And I know there was one years ago. I will share this. There were lots of local folks that participated in it, which is good for our city. There were folks from all over the state that came. We had a visitor from Colorado. And my favorite, the weirdest thing in the world, there was a little girl that beat me in the last 100 yards, and I'm still bitter about that. I didn't know she was there, but I couldn't have called her if I had. She and her family are from Michigan. The wife of the family has a brother that lives in the Birmingham area, and they come visit their brother every year for Liberty Day. And she said they run all 3 years. I went back and checked it. They come down here for Liberty Day from Michigan, and it's all the things about small town America that they want. So I talked to them about relocating, but that wasn't really an option. So, things like that are just, I don't know that there's a dollars and cents value to it, but there's a lot of intangible value to it. We have a growing reputation between the two races we do here in the Birmingham running community of really quality events and places for people to come. I don't know if I've ever told you, but last summer we had a guy break a state record on within his age division, 50 to 55 maybe. And because our course is certified, it counts. So we're in that record book, wherever that record book is. Farm to Table's coming up on August 19th. This will be the 3rd year we've done it. We've had 2 consecutive sellouts. We went on, tickets went on sale yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And in that time, we've sold 3 tables worth and $1,300 and some change already. So we're anticipating another sellout for that. And it gives us an opportunity to partner with some of the vendors from the farmers market, which is a win-win. And then the last thing I want to take just a second about was to brag on our Street Director, Ashley Franco, has been a godsend. She is detailed, she didn't know this was on my list. She's detail oriented, she is reliable, she's positive, she's solution oriented, and we couldn't have her in the role she's in without y'all's support. So we really, really appreciate that and feel like Main Street's going in a good direction.
Any questions for Joel or Ashley? I would like to say that the success, obviously, of the 5K is it's you, Joel, being behind that. So
I'm a one-trick pony. So
Pardon? What's that?
Said I'm a one-trick pony, that's
Well,
all I got.
okay, as long as you can keep that pony going. But it's great, and I think that's why we get such a huge turnout. And for both you and Ashley, my opinion, just that, I do think that the farmer's market has been a big success, again, combined with the Music on Main and what do we call it now, Music on Main Unplugged.
It's a more intimate affair.
Yeah, and it was good. It was a good intimate affair last Friday night, so we enjoyed that. But I think your efforts have been beneficial. When we talked about combining the farmers market and Music on Main, there was, to your point, there was some trepidation not only amongst the vendors, but by some in the community who felt like it wouldn't be as successful as it was on Saturday. And by every measure that I can tell, it's been very successful. And the purpose, obviously, is for us to be able to bring people to Columbiana to support our Main Street businesses. That's the reason why we do this. Yes, we want to support our local farmers, that's part of it. Clearly, the reason why we do the agricultural department authorized farmers market, but it's supporting our Main Street community and our merchants, so that's good. I'm glad it's successful and appreciate everything you guys do. All right, any more for the Main Street? All right, now, so this is a great opportunity for us tonight. We're going to swear in 3 new police officers for the city of Columbiana. I'm going to call you guys up here one at a time so everybody can see who you are. So Damien Davenport, I'm going to kind of line you guys up there next to the flag, if you don't mind. Justin Thomas. And Steven Zale. All right, guys. This is kind of an enjoyable thing for a mayor to do, but I'm going to administer the oath of office. So you guys just repeat after me. I state your name. Solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
I can't talk to everybody else.
And the Constitution of the State of Alabama.
And the Constitution of the State of Alabama.
So long as I continue a citizen thereof.
So as long as I continue to citizen thereof.
And that I will faithfully
And that I will faithfully
and honestly discharge
and
honestly discharge the duties of the office of police officer
police officer
upon which I am about to enter.
from the time of life
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Well, thank you. Jeff, I'm going to have these up here, and you can pick them up after the meeting. All right, welcome aboard, guys. You got the photos?
Sound like y'all in trouble already.
No.
Okay, so the first thing on the agenda in the discussion items for tonight is the CDBG entitlement program. And we've got Christy Hester here, and Kevin, are you here to support her?
I am.
All right, so Christy, we're going to turn it over to you and to tell us what this is all about.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be here tonight to share some information with you on an opportunity that has been presented by HUD. to Shelby County. We are eligible to qualify as an urban county. That means that we will get funding directly from HUD for Community Development Block Grant programming. You all have been very successful in the past submitting to ADECA. So think of the county as now being the ADECA. We will be responsible for administering the programs, making sure that we're in compliance with all of the rules and regulations. We have the opportunity to invite the city of Columbiana to participate with us as a partner city. And we are reaching out to all the cities, asking for their participation as well. We have to turn in cooperative agreements by August 4th to HUD. Once they let us know that we qualify, then we go through the process of setting up a policy board, which each community that participates with the county will have an opportunity to appoint someone to that board. We'll work on a consolidated plan and an action plan, and we'll have funds ready to distribute October 1st, according to those plans. And so I'm here just as a brief introduction, and I'm here to answer your questions.
I didn't introduce Kevin, so Kevin Morris is chairman of the Shelby County Commission. And obviously, I think the commission has already adopted the
Yes,
resolution or whatever.
We have, and I'll be honest with you, I had told the commission there and encouraged all the 9 commissioners to go to each municipality and request your support in this. One of the unique things that I've been sitting here listening is everything you've talked about has to do with community and support. One of the things I think that's great about your entertainment district is a lot of my friends who live in Chelsea and Helena and other places are coming here on Friday nights. And they're talking about what Columbiana has and what their area doesn't have and how can they recreate it. And I think what's interesting, I've been having that conversation, you don't have to recreate anything. They already have it. You can't go build what Columbiana has. This downtown area is something you just can't go, it's for movies, actually. That's why people want to come here. This particular thing, I don't mean to sound oversimplify it, but it only makes sense. When you've applied for the past, and when you look at it from a statistical mindset, in the past 12 years, Columbiana has gotten the majority of the funds from that grant process for the county. Only 2/3 of the funds that have been given to the county have even been used throughout the county. We've not even been able to fund them all. Comparatively though, we're going through a DECA currently where you're competing with 67 counties in every municipality. Shelby County has a unique opportunity to pull outside of that, where we've only received a little over $3 million in the past 12 years awarded to Shelby County, and only $2 million of that has been spent. We're looking at potentially a minimum of only about $1 million every year. As mentioned by Christy, ADECA's not deciding who gets those grants anymore. It's the policy council that Shelby County has, of which if you join this council, you will have a representative of Columbiana that helps decide how those funds are actually distributed. I think the other level of that I consider really important for Columbiana, and I'm selfish, I'll be honest with you, you're in my district, it's my home area. I grew up in Wilsonville, but I consider Columbiana just as much as home as ever. That's where I went to school. We have that ability that when Ricky or Ashley or others come to the county and say, hey, can we get a park grant, and maybe that doesn't work, there's other grants there. Well, this will work very similar to that, where maybe Columbiana applies for a grant through the block grant, and we say, well, you know what, this actually fits better under this area over here. So you're not really applying. Then we can point people in the right direction, where I know just in the past couple of years, we've I guess about $250,000 we've been able to bring back to Columbiana through additional funding that wasn't even applied for through a grant process. It's still more of a matching process. This opens up a huge opportunity for our county to get a lot more funding. And I think one of the things that's really important in this from my standpoint, when we look at where we're going financially in the future, obviously taxation and some of those have become a real big concern. Will we be able to replicate what we have in the past? So these type funds will become very important, where we've been able to fund other things through our overages that we have through the taxation. We may not have that taxation in the future. So we're going to depend on these grants to help supply things back to our local areas. And quite frankly, maybe it would provide the extra funds for Columbiana to be able to go, support the fire department or through other areas. And we've been very successful in the past couple of years plugging some gaps from the county back to our municipalities. And quite frankly, I think we've done a really good job in my district. And that's what my major concern is in the Vincent area. Columbiana, Wilsonville, and making sure that we're closing in some of those things. And I think it's a huge opportunity, and I would encourage you, if you got any questions or concerns, to try to get this on your agenda for the next meeting. Christy is an expert in this, and the wonderful thing about Christy and her area is that that's who developed our entire comprehensive plan for the county. So they're looking for areas already in that comprehensive plan to say, okay, where can we help fill the gaps, and where do we need to position this money correctly? So I hope the council will support getting this on your agenda and will agree to become part of this, because obviously what we do know is that if all 13 municipalities join us in this process, that those funds will only increase by the number of municipalities we have. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christian, we already have enough confirmation already that we will consider, we will already have enough of the majority of the population have agreed that we will receive this. So again, for every municipality we add, it will only increase the funding opportunities for the county to be able to give back to those municipalities.
Yeah, it's based on the population within the county and the cities that participate.
So, a couple things. Christy, was it yesterday, Christy?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was last week or yesterday, but anyway. She brought me a package from the county with a sample agreement, a sample resolution, which we can take up at our next meeting, and we will have to in order for the county to make their August 4th, I think it is, deadline. And also a letter from HUD about the Entitlement County Program. So I reproduced that, and each of the council members have a copy of that. But while you're here, so that we're ready for next weekend, a couple of questions. I know the last time we did this, I was told, or maybe I misunderstood, that it didn't require 100% participation of the municipalities. But the letter I saw from HUD this time says that it does. That it requires 100% of the municipalities in the county.
So there's two separate thresholds. The first being that we exceed that 200,000 population threshold. When we went through this last time, we were notified by HUD that we had exceeded it. Well, they included Hoover's portion in Shelby County as part of that population number. They were in the process of joining Jefferson County's urban county. And so then we were notified, nope, you don't qualify anymore. So that's the first threshold, 200,000 population without the urban cities that are participating with other counties. That's Hoover, that's Birmingham. The second one is the unincorporated areas and the population from participating cities that exceed 100,000.
Only 100,000.
100,000.
So.
And so that's what Commissioner Morris was referring to, is that based on the agreements that we have signed right now in the unincorporated areas, we have met that threshold.
Well,
But we want
read it
all of
correctly.
our cities to participate. It is not a requirement though.
Okay. So that was the main thing is, so I'm with, I agree with Kevin, you know, Shelby County does a tremendous amount for Columbiana. And it really has to be a partnership. We've talked about the partner grants and the lighting and things like that, but we just couldn't have gotten done without that. And then we get grants for the senior center, and we get a lot of support for our school resource officers from the county, which is something that's really important to us. So, so it's a collaboration. And the last thing that I would want to do is be the one community that stopped this thing from being successful. So, so it's important for me to understand that. But I think, do any of you guys have any questions for?
Yeah, so, and I just want to put off what Kevin said, you know, when he going through leadership Shelby County, and, you know, last year that we spent some time with Kevin and Chad over there about the lighting project at the ballpark. I mean, that is a true statement in terms of, you know, if it's, you know, we often hear about budgets, and if it's in the budget, if it's not in the budget. Well, you know, I can remember sitting down with Kevin and Chad over at the county, and I presented them a need, not thinking that the county would say, okay, we can do this. You know, and I remember coming out of Kevin's mouth saying, while it may not be here, we can find the money here. And going through leadership Shelby County is that, you know, I think, and it goes back to the stuff that Kendall Williams and them are doing, a lot of that tourism dollars helps be able to fund a lot of the things that maybe a CDBG grant may not even touch. So as we talk about that, we've been very successful with those grants, but at the same time, you know, we were hoping of a big plethora of more money here. I assume it's more money based on one municipality versus five, the pot grows. And I mean, I think we have an opportunity to expand on the money that we're getting from this CDBG grant stuff. At the end of the day, if the money's all gone, I feel confident that we have a good relationship with the county to where if it may not be in this grant threshold, we can find the money somewhere else. And we should be a firm believer of that based on the stuff that we've just got done in the last couple of years and the stuff that, you know, we hope we can do in the future. So I'm all supportive for it, and I think it's a great opportunity to. I really like the idea that, you know, because oftentimes when we hear these stuff like this and all these other bigger municipalities are involved, they say, well, all the money may go to North End County. So I think that's important to have the people at the table that really don't have that loud voice. And I mean, you know, when Kevin says I think he does stuff, I think he's true to that word. So with Kevin being in our district, I think that's a pretty much louder voice than maybe we may have. Maybe not, but that maybe will change. But anyway, but no, I think it's good to have a place at the table, and you know, I'm very supportive of it. I think it's a good opportunity.
I think the thing I would like to add, and this is a proud moment for me, you know, when I go to a Shelby Chamber event and I look up and mayor and staff from Columbiana are there, because that's not always going to be the occurrence. It's a bigger picture. It's what are we all doing? The mayor's council working together. Well, you know, there's a trickle-down effect. By you joining and there being more money, a Wilton benefits, a Wilsonville benefits, a Vincent benefits, because there's more funds coming in. Quite frankly, we took what we did in Columbiana, and there was a need in Wilsonville. And they're gonna have to make a decision. Can they put lights? They can't afford that. They're going through the process, and they're trying to budget out, and we were able to replicate something similar we own. So it's a little bit of a trickle-down effect as well, where we now are expanding the area so that if Columbiana wants to host some kind of tournament and needs some extra fields, they're there. They've got quality lighting now that they did not have. You can now depend on it just like this. And so again, it's that ripple effect that helps our whole area. And that's the one big concern where Christie is definitely thinking from the entire county's basis. I want to be a little more selfish and talk about District 1 and talk about the things that we need to do here and the partnerships that we're able to perform with Columbiana. And Columbiana has a unique opportunity in a lot of these areas to lead a lot of the District 1, you know, in their mindset. And by joining in this particular thing, I think you're going to have a ripple effect to help the community surrounding us here. And I appreciate your support and hope y'all will continue to support it. And if you have any questions or concerns, even if you come out tonight, Christie is extremely accessible, and you know I am. We want to make sure you have any of those questions, you know, answered before you get to this opportunity, because these type of things, we're fortunate. And again, this opportunity continues to allow Shelby County to perform at different levels, and it allows us to be out in front of a lot of our competition as well.
Okay. Well, I want to give you the opportunity while you're here tonight to answer those questions. I think in fairness, we should look at the potential downside or the other side of this particular situation. So we will be essentially an entitlement county. CDBG funds, which are federal funds, go directly to entitlement cities, and then they will go to the entitlement counties. And then the balance of those funds go to the state, and we competed for them in the past at the state level. There are 4, and you would think after our meeting yesterday I would have looked up the 4th one because I can never remember. But basically the big ones are the competitive grants, which the most recent one we got was the sewer grant for $450,000. We completed that just this past year. And you cannot compete for another grant until you've closed out the project that you got the previous grant on. So we would now be able to compete for another, and they've raised the threshold from $450,000 to $500,000 for those competitive grants. Then, that you compete in addition to that, they have economic development grants, and those are up to $200,000. We've never gotten, to my knowledge, an economic development grant, but that's something that we have an opportunity to apply for through CDBG. There's a planning grant, to help cities with comprehensive planning and things of that nature. And it's the fourth one that I can remember.
Community enhancement.
Community enhancement, thank you very
Yes.
much. And I don't remember what the thresholds were, if there is one for those two.
I want to say that is
They're small.
400,000 at
Is
the
it that?
state, and it's for senior centers and things like that.
Right, okay. And to the good point, in the past, our senior center was funded largely by a CDBG grant in the past. So, and to Kevin's point, we have to compete against the state, and we've been fairly successful in the past, but there's never any guarantee with that. We would have a seat at the table with the county, but the dollars that we're competing for are much smaller, because it's about $1 million a year right
Well,
now.
I would say, if you're looking at it based on a simple basis, I'm not gonna tell you it's smaller, I'm actually say your opportunity is larger, because in the past 12 years, 6 of the 12 years, no one in the county has received $1 from the NECA to any of the grants.
Well, is it because they didn't apply?
So there were some grants that people just didn't receive, because again, it's a competitive format.
Right.
So again, there was not there were other grants that we received that were not funded.
Right.
Columbiana, again, y'all received $450,000 with the sewer, another water with sewer, and I was $250 for the senior citizen center at that point in time in the past 12 years. And y'all represent the lion's share. But again, even that only represents basically $1 million in a 12-year period that was awarded in our county.
Right.
And we're talking about that amount of money being awarded every year. And the other side of that would be, if you apply for something in a DECA and they say no, there's not a secondary process with them. You just get no to that grant, where there's other opportunities when you're working with the county that, much like what we've done with the recreational side, we say, well, it can't fit under this grant program, but we do have funds over here that are better suited for you, that may not be earmarked.
So they may not be CDBG funds, they may be something else.
That's
what you're
correct.
saying.
For the tourism dollars, the prime.
That is correct.
So the point is $1 million, we're taking, there's only a small part of Birmingham and Shelby County that's out. We're taking, majority, I guess, of Hoover, is out. So we're really taking all of Birmingham and Hoover out, right?
That's right.
Correct. So, to leave the rest of the municipalities and unincorporated areas in the county. And so that would now be our competition, if you will, for these funds. And you still, even though there will be a process that we will all participate in developing and then running after the fact, it still has to follow the HUD guidelines, okay, as far as need and the criteria for getting it. Which may be one of the reasons why Columbiana has been successful in the past. I hate to say we're a needy community, but that's one of the reasons why we've been successful in the past. But I just want the council to understand those things to help us as we vote on that resolution.
Yes, to your point, Mayor, the municipalities that have received funding in the past 12 years are Wilton, Vincent, Montevallo, and Columbia. So again, that lower income, meaning more definition within the HUD definition of needy or necessary, especially when it comes to senior services or community type services, those are definitely going to rise to the top.
But even that definition of HUD is still not going to change, so there's other cities wanting to follow those guidelines anyway, so they're going to be able to.
That's correct.
But-
Although an Alabaster and a Pelham may be joining our group,
Yeah.
they still could not get the very same.
Right.
Well,
Thing based
so
on
that's
definition.
not entirely true. Okay, the way the CDBG criteria is written, they can apply for a grant for just a portion of their city that meets the need requirements, whether it's income level or something like that. In other words, they don't have to comply for Alabaster as a whole. So if there's a needy community in Alabaster, they can apply for that community to satisfy the HUD criteria.
Well, I guess just
Project
the
area.
portions of that area that.
The project area, yes, but from an entity mindset, and don't forget, if there's 13, then there's 13 representations from the city that decides how those policies and procedures related to Shelby County's setup actually goes, whether or not, there could be exclusions about how many grants you could apply for on a period and series of years, or a dollar amount you could be done that does not exceed the HUD limit. But again, the opportunity within those very same things, that's why those very same large municipalities, when they would apply for the smaller grants with a niche base, HUD's looking at overall need. So when you're looking at a smaller thing in Shelby County, I would imagine, I don't know the policy, because unfortunately, we don't have a policy yet. Because until we get the final award, the group that sets the policy can't set it. So they may set what that need percentage looks like on a long-term basis. But that's why you can't qualify, because, I mean, as strange as it is, when you deal with the government, you can get a USDA-backed real estate loan on Lay Lake in Bully Creek subdivision. That's a need-based financial obligation on the government in Bully Creek subdivision. Most people would argue Bully Creek subdivision, it's not a needs-based area.
Not a needy place.
Yeah, but based on zip code in Wilsonville, it qualifies. But if we were to apply for a grant situation there and then we look at the demographics of the homes there and the average income there, it would exclude itself.
I think, and this is my last question, I just think the opportunity, if we apply for if a municipality applies for the grant division, we've been successful, your battle for funds from Montgomery. But I think if you have I'm looking at it as the funds will be here in the county, trying to decipher those funds versus trying to decipher from Montgomery. Does that make sense?
That's correct.
Yeah. I was thinking you have the funds locally to talk about and disperse.
Well, I can tell you this, in my opinion. Going back to the Bully Creek subdivision thing, when the people in Montgomery look at a community from Shelby County, which is the wealthiest county in the state, and Columbiana is not certainly in that we're a low, moderate income community. And so the folks in Montgomery look at a Columbiana application and say, oh, those guys are Shelby County, they don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are biases there. There's always going to be biases there, and we just need to understand it. I just wanted them to see that there's, other things that we need to consider.
Yeah, I would say, I heard someone put it when we first went down this path the other way, that even the Lord only promises daily bread. Sometimes we think about the big meal, but if we can get a consistent piece of bread along the way, and we know we can help distribute in our county, and the other side of that I still just think is very invaluable to our process, is that let's say that you apply for a grant through ADECA, and they tell you no. You're going to have to reapply for that grant again and go through an entire process. Where if you're applying within a situation that's associated with the county, there may be an immediate shift of, hey, I'll tell you what, we're going to shift you over this way. We're not even going to use the grant process here. We're going to push it this way. Or, you know what, we think this is a great situation. In fact, it's so good, we can't award it this year, but we'll award it next year with the funds that come in next year. We'll just go ahead and look at things that way. And so again, being able to position, or I hate the word control, but the group, the council would have the ability, because let's just say that Vincent was awarded the money and something happened and Vincent were not able to meet the demands of the grant. Then you have the ability to move those funds, because there's a little bit more control at that point in time, other than going back to the government. Because unfortunately, that's why we're sitting here going, we need you to make a decision, because unfortunately, the government's given us less than a month to pull every bit of this off, with 13 municipalities to go visit. And
Which is why I wanted to make sure we had a thorough discussion.
And we appreciate that most heartily from your point, because we know that's an adaptation of your process as well.
So, any other questions for either Christy or Kevin?
Really, Christy, she's we're fortunate.
I
We
know
got
what
some
you
of
mean.
the folks out there.
And I brought Eric.
That's right.
Oh, and Aaron too. Okay. Well, we appreciate your time, and I think it's an important discussion. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So the next thing, discussion item, is yard sales at Columbiana Trade Days. And so Brandy Jones is here, and she'd like to share with her some of her thoughts on that.
Well, I live in Shelby on Lay Lake, and I think Columbiana is just a beautiful town, and I love seeing all the great changes and things that's going on. But I love the trade days when we had the trade days, and we haven't had them for several years now. And I would love to see that brought back, even if it was on a Friday. I mean, we have the Ironworks, and I support that, and you've got Tannehill and all, and it seems like it was the second weekend that we had the original trade day. So I think it would just be a great opportunity. It would bring more revenue for the city of Columbiana, and it would help people like me that like to sit up and sell. I used to own a business in Shelby. Years ago, I closed it when my husband changed jobs, And now I just set up here and there. I have a marketplace, but I had a yard sale. And what opened this up for me to meet with the mayor and talk with him is the manager at O'Reilly's, William Nichols, gave me permission to have a yard sale. And we set up there like once a month, maybe twice, 4 to 8 hours here and there the last couple of months. And the people were happy to see us because they knew us from when I had my business, or we would set up on trade day. And so I know that Chief Powers was doing his job, but he came and shut us down. So I mean, no disrespect, none whatsoever. But he wanted me to have a business license. It's a yard sale. I was on private property. I had permission from the manager there. I comply with the law. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. That's why I set up a meeting with the mayor. And if I could buy like a permit or yard sale permit, I'd be happy to do that, but I don't need a business license. If I decide to buy another building or have another store, of course, I'd have everything in line. But I wanted to understand what had happened to me with that, and to please consider having a trade day for Columbiana again. I think it really would be a great opportunity.
Any questions?
I have a yard sale at my house, but you have to buy a permit.
Right, I have no problem if that's what I need to do. I just thought because I was on private property with permission, I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong. And I'm not being rude to you because you were doing your job, but I mean, it was a shop. So I just, if I can get a permit, if I have permission from Will Nichols, I mean, he's so good with the community. I mean, he helps the youth, for having car washes, and we always did it on Friday because I knew he had things like that going on Saturday, and we always had his permission to be there. And he meant to be here tonight, so he got held up at work. But he's always eager to help everybody in the community with different things, and like I said, we usually only set up about 4 or 5 hours, and we clean up after our sales, pick up trash we didn't even put there. So, I mean, I don't feel like we were a nuisance, but we were just having a sale. But with farmers market, all that's doing great, but it's not left an outlet for people like me and others that sell other things. So, I mean, I would really like y'all to consider that.
So is the easy fix bringing back the trade day? Well, and the reason I know some insight is trade day because I found out a girl that works with me where I work my full-time job. Her family used to put it on, and she told me that they just didn't. It dissolved because I think maybe they got out of it, or maybe the farmers market moved or something like that. So that's why I asked: is the easy thing just to bring back the trade days? And didn't they used to do in the overflow parking lot at the county thing or something like that?
Yeah, and before Oldham Square was built, they used to do it over there in the shade trees.
Because I'm not opposed to a yard. I mean, yard sale is small town America, but I think where we have to be careful with this, we can't have yard sales popping up on main drags 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 people. Because I mean, if those people congregate, it creates an issue for the police. It creates an issue for, especially in high traffic areas. So I think that's more or less not an issue, but the concern. I don't know. I mean, that's why I said I think the issue, the easy thing would be consider bringing back trade days, maybe. And that way you have you work with a permit, and I know we have guidelines for yard sales now, and I think it's more or less controls is maybe the wrong word to use, but it's sort of just like some maintenance to that whole process.
Right. Other people that said I've been O'Reilly's allowed people to do lots of different things.
Yeah.
The food trucks that set up, all buy a food truck license.
Right.
All the other businesses in the area, all buy a business license.
Yep.
And so to have someone come in and set up that didn't buy this is unfair to the other businesses.
Yeah, I don't know that a yard, and I mean, I don't know, just thinking out loud, I don't know that yard sale applies under business. Maybe, I mean, you're making money and it.
All right, so there's 3 areas that we need to look at. Really, the main one is ordinances, the other one is permits and licenses. Some cities have ordinances for yard sales, we do not. we do have an ordinance that governs permits and licenses, and that governs the business license process, and that governs a permit for yard sales. And so the guidelines for the criteria for conducting a yard sale are in that ordinance dealing with yard sale permits. And they're also contained on the application when they come and get it here. And I will admit that it's a bit fuzzy, so I talked to it, because what it says you can do, it says that a yard sale permit can be purchased by a household. And it doesn't specifically specify a location for the yard sale, but in discussing it with the city attorney, a reasonable person could say, since the permit is issued to a household, that it would imply that the yard sale would be conducted at the household, okay? And then it goes on, and there's provisions where you can have a neighborhood yard sale, where it goes on to say that the households have to be in the same location. So my interpretation, after discussing with the city attorney, because I was just confused like everybody else before, is that the intent of that criteria was that yard sales would be conducted at the household that gets the permit for it at that home, not in a commercial business district. The other thing that it potentially creates a problem with is obviously the business licenses that commercial businesses are buying, and zoning criteria. I mean, it is a commercial activity when you are selling things for profit or gain. And if you are doing that on commercial property, then again, it might imply the need for a business license. But if you're doing it as a yard sale on your own property, then no, but you do need to have the yard sale permit. The ordinance limits you to 2 a year, and I think it can only last a couple of days. Is that right?
2 consecutive days.
Yeah, 2 consecutive days. So that's the yard sale part of it. Now, the trade days is something that has popped up, and we've had individuals. The city has, I'll say, sanctioned it. The county has allowed it to be conducted in the overflow parking lot. But now, normally, when we sell booths for things where we have vendors come in and they don't have to buy a business license, but they do pay some sort of booth fee, that's associated with some sort of festival, like Liberty Day,
Or city
Cowboy
event.
Day, or city event. So we would have to say, okay, is Trade Day is going to be that city event. But those vendors also collect and remit sales tax, okay? Which I don't think that the Trade Days people didn't do that, I do not believe. Nor did obviously yard sale people have to collect or remit sales tax. And once again, so you're having a commercial activity now being done on a public property. And under the public purpose clause in the state of Alabama, you cannot provide, any governmental entity cannot provide anything of value like the use of their space unless it provides a public purpose. So we would have to determine whether or not we decided trade days provided and met that public purpose. And then the last thing is economic development. And would trade days be competing against existing businesses in town? Obviously, rule number one of economic development is protect your existing businesses. So those are considerations as far as trade day is concerned. I don't think the yard sale applies at all in this particular case, but if we wanted to do trade days, I think we have some issues we need to discuss and sort out.
I'm all for following what the ordinance says. I mean, I think those ordinances are in place for a reason. You know, it's just how do we find that medium? O'Reilly's is, the guy that owns that place, he does a lot, I agree, he does a lot for that
Yeah,
community,
he's very
there's somebody down there every weekend. But at some point, it's gonna become a hazard down there. If you'll notice, the traffic backs up all the time there, and if you add whatever traffic to that, it becomes, so I don't know how we fix it, it's just, but I think the ordinances are in place for a reason to sort of have guardrails or whatever, so I don't know, after you're talking, I don't know if the solution is bringing back train days, I don't know, but I mean, people have yard sales all the time. But I didn't know that you could only have, that it was written to have them in your yard versus.
Well, the language is, it doesn't say where you can have it, but it says that the permit is issued to a household. And then when it goes on and talks about the neighborhood yard sales have to be by households in the same location. In discussion with the city attorney, it's his opinion and mine, that it implies that it should be conducted at the household.
If my mind serves me correctly, and Alec, were you here when Main Street was created?
Oh.
Okay. Do you not remember us talking about that? Because I think that was a conflict with Main Street having the trade days, and that's why we stopped trade days. Does that sound right?
Well, we still
We
had
the
trade
farmers
days
market
after.
and trade days at the same time.
Yeah.
What we did a few years ago is that the person who was over trade days kind of didn't want to do it anymore, and Main Street and the mayor were interested in doing a certified farmer's market.
Okay.
And with a certified farmer's market, you can't just resell, it has to be handmade or.
Yeah, you gotta
Or
have
homegrown.
a grower's permit.
Right, or something from the growers.
So this conversation is about on commercial property. It's not in.
As far as yard sales, in my opinion, that's not apropos, okay? But the trade days is something we would, if we want to pursue that in the future, restoring that, I think there's some details.
So could those still be on city land based on what you mentioned?
Again, the public purpose doctrine is, it can be fuzzy at times, and as we've talked about when we do the resolution to allow the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and Dream Makers to use the rec center and the American Legion, the decision as to whether or not it's public purpose is ours, the council's. Now, we have to have justification for that decision, so we have to be able to rationalize that having that trade days on public property would serve a public purpose. It's in the city of Columbiana, but it is county property. I guess theoretically, if the county decided it didn't serve a public purpose, they could say, no, you can't have it in our parking lot anymore. But if we wanted to do it, we could find another place to do that.
Well, I know we ran a similar conversation about food trucks on private property, and we have areas designed for food trucks, and O'Reilly's is one that allows food trucks on his property. So I mean, it's just one of those deals where I think ordinances are in place and guidelines are in place to be managed.
But that is a commercial operation with a
Right,
business
yes,
license
well,
that
that's.
collects and remits sales.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, the food trucks were happy when we would come because it would help, we kind of helped each other.
Yeah.
And when we would sell them, it was only on Fridays, we would always set up where it wouldn't be in the way, it was the same spot, we weren't taken up from the food truck, we always took that in consideration.
Yeah.
But I honestly didn't know I was doing anything wrong.
Sure.
So, well, yeah, we didn't, nobody assumes, and that's why Chief Bowers didn't haul you up to jail.
Well, we complied with them, but I called you before I went home.
That's fine, and I enjoyed the conversation, and I learned a lot, to be honest with you, after our meeting, and because I had to research all this stuff to figure out, what we had, what we didn't have, what we could do, what we couldn't do, because as I told you, I didn't know.
And
Now I think I do.
Right, and I'd like to say, I have a background of managing markets, large markets and things like that, and I don't need a spotlight on me or anything, but if you needed somebody to help with that, if you decide to go that direction with a trade day, I'll do anything that I can to get that going and get the word out.
So our options are, after this discussion, is, as a council, if someone were to motion, we could decide that we're gonna move forward with trade days with the procedures to be determined. Or we could table it and say, hey, we need more discussion. That's up to you guys.
I think we table it right now because I don't know the framework of what that trade day would look like. I don't know if it would be the same as, but I think it'd be beneficial if we considered it to probably bring, Ms. Jones in to see how we can make that work, that it works for the ordinance, it works for the city stuff, and to see, if it can, it can. It's just, I think we need to do some due diligence there to set it up the right way.
Okay.
Agree.
And that way you don't get a visit from the policeman again.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all for listening to me.
You bet.
All right, what else we got here?
Okay, I want to just bring this up, and I don't want us to act on this tonight. We can think about this and then bring it up further, but, so, you know, I do my mayor's monthly video, and I ask people to send me questions, and so somebody was complaining about loud trucks. And basically, they wanted to know what's the police doing, you know, to deal with the loud trucks. Well, we don't have a noise ordinance in Columbiana. And we could adopt one if we want. Well, we do have a noise ordinance, but it only deals with loud music. We don't have a noise ordinance that deals with loud mufflers and trucks and things like that. So we, as a city council, could adopt such an ordinance if we chose to do so. But we don't necessarily have to because the state of Alabama has a law, Code Title 32, that deals with and it regulates loud vehicles, and basically it precludes excessive or unusual noise and annoying smoke, okay? So that's pretty broad, you know, what's excessive noise, what's unusual noise. But the thing is our police department can enforce that. And any law enforcement agency in the state of Alabama can enforce that in Columbiana and or whatever their jurisdiction happens to be, where they happen to have a jurisdiction. Now, some cities in the state have adopted noise ordinances. Alabaster has one. I put Huntsville's up here, not picking on Huntsville, but I think this one is so specific that it also would make it very difficult to enforce because their noise ordinance says, it says, okay, if you're a motorcycle going 35 miles or less, it can be this many decibels, but if you're going more than 35, it can be that many decibels. If you're a vehicle less than 10,000 pounds going 35 miles per hour or less, it can be this many decibels, but if you're going more, and if you're a vehicle under 10,000 pounds at 35 or less, so, you know, not only does the police have to be there to catch them in the act, they got to have a decibel meter, they got to have a radar gun, and they got to have weight scales to weigh the vehicle. I think that would be impossible to enforce, and that's the reason why I put that up there because I thought it was kind of ridiculous. Alabaster's is much more in line with what the state guidance is, and so I'm not sure that we need that ordinance. But one of the things that some communities, and I've seen this in other states and in other towns, it's more of a public awareness campaign. And they use local media, they maybe put some signage outside saying that we're gonna enforce, you know, noise ordinance or whatever the noise law is, and that, you know, you could potentially be cited and be fined. The one benefit of a noise ordinance is we could possibly describe what those fines would be, as we would do it right now. If we were to issue someone a citation, they would come to municipal court and the judge would decide what the fine would be for those folks. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'll go ahead and tell you my opinion. My opinion is I don't think we should have an ordinance. I think what we should do is follow the state law. And but we can discuss amongst ourselves whether or not we want to do a public awareness campaign and maybe work with the chief on a strategy on how to enforce it, because I do think it's a real issue.
Well, I think, and when this came up, I thought about the police and the environment that they're in right now. I mean, you got objective versus subjective. And every time somebody gets split over by the police department or any police in general, they automatically, unless you're just out doing something really dumb, there's a lot of subjectivity there in the public opinion. So I mean, in the decibel thing is just, wow, that's a stretch. But but I don't even know that if you can, it's gotta involve anything that's loud. Like 2 nights after the 4th of July, people were popping off like monster fireworks in my backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, that falls under this. So it's not limited to mufflers or loud music. It could be anything. So, but I think at some point, it becomes subjective and objective, and then at the point where it becomes subjective, everything's gonna be considered harassment. So if you pull over the same guy with the same muffler 2 times in a week, then you know what you're gonna hear. I mean, they're gonna show up here, you know? So, I mean, I think if we do anything, and I don't know that we need it, but I think whatever we do needs to be objective as possible.
Yeah, I just think that's a little too objective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, so.
And then the other one is if the vehicle has music blaring, it has to be anything audible from 25 feet away. Now, it doesn't have to be real loud to hear it from 25 feet away, so that.
If you start bouncing when the car runs by, music on, then it's too loud.
Well, you're lucky if it was just the noise that was you bothering you. I once set my neighbor's pampas grass on fire 2 days after the 4th of July.
That would be objective.
All right. All right, I just wanted to bring that up, and we can bring that up for further discussion later unless somebody wants to do something with it now. Okay, so we have a resolution here to request the installation of streetlights, and this was brought up by, oh gosh, remind me who brought it up, Ms. Mayfield? Yeah, and before we get into that, I want to introduce, if you'll stand up, we've got Telra Rocker back here. She is the, Telra, I'll probably screw this up, but you are the Community Services Representative?
Yes, Community Relations Specialist.
Okay. And she also works with Kimberly Jackson, and they do a lot of good work for us. In fact, complained about the leaning telephone poles on College Street. Well, all but one of them are, we went out and looked at that yesterday as well. So I think we hope to be able to get that one fixed. But so anyway, they will take care of this street light for us. We have identified that there is a pole, and I think Alan's got the pole number that we can give to you. And we can install this street light on Bowie Road within the public right-of-way. So is there a motion to adopt the installation of the street light on Bowie Road?
I'll make that motion.
Yes, sir.
And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Let the record show the motion passed with unanimous consent. And thank you for being here, Taylor. Appreciate it.
What's your name again, baby?
Telra Rocker.
Can you spell that?
Telra. Last name Rocker, Rocker.
Tell her, are you related to Tracy Rocker?
Yes.
All right, I knew I liked
There you go. There you go. Hey, tell him to come in next time.
All right. I put this on there. I wanted to put this on the agenda and I forgot. So I put it in the other city business. And there's been some concern expressed about parking on East College Street there. Those parking spaces, if you're coming out of the parking lot at Davis Drug, many people have complained that when there are vehicles, particularly a truck parked there, you cannot see, and it's dangerous. And at once upon a time, I'm told that we actually had those parking spots painted out, and someone decided to, probably this council, or maybe a different council, to put them back. But I've driven by it myself. Whenever something like this, I'm nosy, so I go check it out. And it's tough. It is really tough to see. And there was someone recommended, well, maybe we do just compact cars there. But I'm not sure we should have those parking spaces there. I think it's a narrow road. And as you're coming out, if you stop where you're supposed to at the crosswalk there, coming out of the Davis Drug parking lot, there's no way you're going to be able to see with those vehicles there. But if you remove them and assuming that the shrubs that are in that little island are properly trimmed, you could be able to see and not necessarily have to pull into the crosswalk there. So thoughts, discussion on
There's
it?
not many, are there?
It's three.
Three.
I was gonna say, was it two or three?
But they're all parallel though, aren't That
No,
was-
they're not
No.
parallel, they're,
Okay.
they're,
There was one parallel at one time.
Who, does the city own, is that part of the streets of the city owns?
It's in the right of way.
We're not making it a delivery zone. I know Sweet Treats use that a lot.
Well,
for
I-
deliveries.
that's something we should talk about, and Sweet Treats, has brought that issue up because they can't unload when there are cars parked there, and sometimes cars parked there all night. And technically, it's not a loading zone, but that's something that I think we could also consider if we wanted to make it a loading zone where they could pull in there just for a short period of time to load or unload. Now, the other alternative is, you know, they could unload in the parking lot and use a dolly and just carry the stuff via dolly into their building. But that is a consideration that I think that we would need to discuss if we decide that we were going to eliminate those parking spaces.
Do they have a back door, like in?
They enter from the side, they don't have a rear entrance at all.
I think it'd be safer to make it like them out. Loading zone.
So how do you feel about making it a temporary loading and unloading zone?
Yeah. I think that'd be safer.
Yeah, I mean, if it's police, if it's managed effectively,
Yeah.
I think it'd be something that needs to be. But again, if you make it a delivery zone and people stay there all day, then you probably be a parking spot.
Have you ever been to a large city in the downtowns where the streets, I mean, they just pull up in the middle of the street, literally, and unload in the middle of the street? And do you know what that process is called in the municipal law in big cities? They call that standing.
Call it what?
Standing. Yeah, and so sometimes in some areas in those big cities, you'll see a sign that says no standing. And it doesn't mean you can't go stand on the street corner, you just can't park there, okay? And my son found that out in New York City when his car got towed away in a standing zone. So, we could, but if you're willing, we could potentially decide this here and say that we're going to agree to remove the parking spaces and develop a loading and establish a loading and unloading zone. So if someone would want to move that we do that, we can make that decision right now.
I'll move that we did that.
I second.
Okay? All in favor?
I do think it'd be helpful if it's a distinctive color though.
I didn't catch it. Everybody down here in
Yes.
favor? Mark,
If it was a distinctive color that's marked off.
the loading zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And won't we need a sign or something?
Yeah, we'll get a sign too. Okay. All right, so we're gonna eliminate the parking spaces and establish a loading zone. Okay, thank you for that. All right, mayor's report. All right, I want to talk a little bit about Center Street. That has been a nightmare, and as you can see, we finally have that street paved. I have been considering a council resolution to change the name to Murphy Street, because if anything could go wrong, it did go wrong with that particular project. And those people have done without a paved road since January. As you may recall, when we first ran into this problem, and we learned it was going to cost us 10 times more than we had budgeted to fix it, notwithstanding all the other issues that we had as we went along, we decided that we would apply for a Rebuild Alabama grant to help us cover the cost, a grant for $250,000. And that grant, we had to get an application in. This occurred in January. We had to get our application in by the 10th of February. But they award those grants in 3 phases over the remainder of the year. One application, one time, but they awarded some in April, they awarded some today, and they will have a 3rd round of those coming up. We decided as a council that if we didn't get the grant in April, we couldn't wait any longer, and we would move forward with repairing the street, which is what we did. Friday afternoon, I received a notification that Governor Ivey was going to make an announcement today that Columbiana was going to receive a $250,000 Rebuild Alabama grant for that particular project. And as excited as I was, those grants are not normally awarded for a project that is completed. And so I could not help but it was the right thing to do, is to make AlDOT aware that, you know, we had moved forward. Back in April, when we didn't get the award, I asked our grant writer, I said, hey, what should we do? Should we pull our grant, because we got to go on and fix the street, application, or is there some way we could repurpose the funds? Kind of talking with what Kevin was talking about that the county could do earlier. I never followed up on that. I never got a response, and it just kind of fell off my plate, to be honest with you. Until Friday, when I found out that we were receiving the grant. And so I felt compelled to say, okay, we've got a problem. We've already fixed it. Can we repurpose it? And I will say that State Representative Ellis, State Senator Lance Bell, they worked very hard and lobbied very hard on our behalf to try to come up with a way where we could repurpose those funds, but it was not to be. And so when the announcement was made today, Columbiana was removed from the list of recipients from that grant. So I'm really disappointed about that. But I do want to thank the engineer who helped us prepare the application, because it was eventually favorably received, and also the support that we got from Senator Bell and Representative Ellis. And we got a good Center Street paving, so we'll have to try again next year for a Rebuild Alabama grant. To my knowledge, I don't believe Columbiana's ever gotten one. So we're due. I'm not going to repeat what Allie's already said. Liberty Day, I think, was a great success. I did attend that Washington Update luncheon with Senator Tuberville, and it was interesting. He has a different style from most of the senators and representatives that we've had in the past. Very direct, and I'm not sure it always is very favorably received by being so direct, but to a certain degree you have to appreciate that. I wanted to sort of make another pitch about the Mayor's Monthly Video, where you can find it on our website there if you push that little button. The one for July, I asked State Representative Ellis to participate in that video. He provided an update on all the legislation that was passed in the last legislative session. We talked about how it's applicable to us here in Columbiana. So if people haven't seen that, go on the website, take a look at that. I think you'll find that interesting. And I've asked State Senator Lance Bell to participate in the August monthly video. So, and part of that is he's new. He's from Pell City, as our former senator was. But people in Columbiana may not know Lance, so it's an opportunity for Lance to introduce himself to folks in Columbiana. So, pitch on that. By the way, this live stream council meeting is also, the recordings of that are available on there as well. Okay, announcements.
All right, so the Farmers Market and Music on Main Unplugged will continue each Friday night through August 11th. This week, Thursday through Sunday, is the Kiwanis Summer Carnival at the Expo Center. The Community Pep Rally is scheduled for August 11th in Old Mill Square Park. And then Discover Shelby Fest, which is a wine festival, the second annual Discover Shelby Fest is September 30th. And then those are all of the dates and the bands for Music on Main Unplugged in the Farmers Market.
Thanks again for doing that. I mean, I really am glad that continued.
I think it's
The young
important.
people seem to love that.
I think it's important to distinguish between the carnival and the fair, though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the carnival is a lot
Smaller.
smaller than the
So,
fair.
yeah, so this is all from the Kiwanis Club.
Which has been a good one. It's been a good carnival. Yeah. Is that the one that used to be here, right? In small.
It's actually a completely different
Okay.
setup, so I'm not, they haven't done this before, and so this is new for them as well.
Okay.
So, the Community Pep Rally on August 11th, but while you're speaking of the Kiwanis, the Alabama State Kiwanis Convention is at the 4-H Center on August 11th as well. And hopefully they'll be coming to Columbiana because I'm gonna be there prodding them to come to Columbiana. All right, any other questions for Ally? Okay, public comments from anyone else? All right, we had a lot covered tonight, but I thought it was a good meeting, so without further ado, if there's no other business or no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion we